Let's talk about the questions that arise then. If the federal government is not only ignoring the Constitution, but it's violating it with false investigations, trumped up charges, and politicized arrests, it's just not the government. I mean, it's that simple. Who is the legitimate government? I don't know. Now, when you have, this is where the scary question comes into place. When you have armed men who act on the authority of government, so they claim, and they begin arresting people, well, for the most part, we agree to a matter of, to a degree of confidence, the American people, like we recognize who the government is. But when the FBI arrests the former president, when you have in Maine, in Colorado, unilateral removal, I shouldn't say in Colorado, but I don't believe it was legitimate. When you have the removal of the front runner from the election, let me stress something. Donald Trump is the front runner for the entire election. In Maine, the Secretary of State just said, nah, Trump's out. He's gone. That is not a governmental function. That is not a constitutional function. Okay, so they are not the government. But you say, yeah, but they're sitting in the office. Doesn't mean anything. We are a country of the consent of the governed. We agree on who the government is when they act within the confines of the law and our constitutional mandate. If the federal government has begun to act outside of that, then they're just rogue elements claiming they're the government. What makes someone a government actor? They are operating within the constitutional framework. If the federal government has begun arresting innocent people, trumping up charges, well, these are just armed guys locking people in rooms. And this is what I feared would happen. As I said throughout the last year, imagine this scenario. One day you go downstairs, there's a knock on your door, and you look to the people and there's a clown, like a literal clown with makeup and everything. You're like, huh? You say, can I help you? And they go, police, open the door. You go, what? You're not a cop, you're a clown. They're like, no, police, open up now. And then he puts his hand on his firearm. Then you see 3 more clowns walk up behind him. You're like, there's 3 clowns outside my house with guns claiming to be police. These are just clowns. You open the door. They say they got a warrant for your arrest or something. And you're like, guys, you're just 3 clowns. You're not agents of the government. They claim to be. And then a fight ensues. I say to imagine this scenario because we could all understand the absurdity of a guy in a clown costume claiming to be a cop. You'd be like, dude, I ain't buying it. They show you a warrant and it's got like, daisies on it and it's written in crayon. And you're like, guys, that is a crayon drawing, not a warrant. You wouldn't obey it, right? This is the issue of civil war. This is what people don't understand. Where we are right now and what I fear, the federal government has told Texas, not only will we not enforce the law, we will operate in counterance to the Constitution, Article 4, Section 4, abetting an invasion into your state. And if you try and stop us, we will use the weight of government to try and stop you. I saw this story and I said, whoa, wait, hold on. 9th and 10th Amendment, Texas can do what it must. You can make an argument that international relations, the Mexican border, and these non-citizens don't fall under the protections of the 9th and 10th Amendment because they are not unto the states themselves. It's an operation of the federal government. But when we then get into Article 4, Section 4, the federal government must protect from invasion, and they are abetting the invasion. They're just guys claiming they're the government. This is what I warned about. You are the government when you operate within the Constitution as we have consented to be governed. And many have argued we're now in a post-constitutional country. I disagree. The government of this country is based upon the Constitution, the supreme law of the land. And if someone goes out against it, then they're just a rogue element. If a cop kicked your door without a warrant and shot somebody, and they would arrest the guy. But I'm a cop. No, you're not. Cops have to get warrants to get signed off by judges and operate within the confines of the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, all the amendments. If a soldier kicked your door in and went and slept in your house, he'd get arrested. When the federal government sends agents to abet an invasion, you'd think committing the crime would result in an arrest. But there's no one to arrest them. So what happens when Texas, their law enforcement, looks at a guy in uniform abetting the invasion, and they say, you may as well be a dude in a clown costume trying to claim you have some authority you don't have. Now, it could be as simple as Texas law enforcement says to these quote-unquote federal actors, you can't stop us. You guys don't You're breaking the law. If a cop robs a bank and then claims, I was told to do it by the chief of police because the money is evidence, they're going to be like, nice try, buddy. If the chief of police orders police officers to go and rob a bank, they're going to be like, you can't do that. If the federal government instructs its agents to abet an invasion in violation of Article 4, Section 4, at what point does Texas say, you are a rogue element, not the government? That terrified me. Because sooner or later, you either get individual citizens just saying outright, you're not law enforcement, you're breaking the law. I brought this up several months ago, before the Texas thing even happened. When they were lifting the barricades, I'm like, federal law enforcement are abetting criminal activity. Criminal. You're allowed to be a refugee in this country, but you have to apply legally. There's a process, a legal process. Entering the country illegally is a crime. It's a literal crime. I remember when AOC was talking to, was it Homan? And she was like, legal asylees are not criminals. And he goes, Article Section 3, blah, blah, blah. And he reads off criminal code. And he's like, entering the country illegally is a criminal violation, ma'am. And everybody laughed. It is codified in the law, federally. They broke the law. So federal agents are abetting these criminals. We're here. It's happening right now. There is a question of who is the legitimate government already.